From the grill on San Mateo, it's Coach's Corner with Sebastian Noel and me, Coach B. Man, we're going to have a little abbreviated show tonight. And, as usual, Seabass was a little late.
Fashionably late.
We really have to talk to his agent. We've got to hire one. That's the problem. We've got to talk to his agent, see if we can get this thing straightened out.
4% of nothing is nothing.
And so we may have to go to the negotiating table hard. June 16th, Tuesday. Can you imagine? It's June 16th. John Chavez, our crack producer. We had the Truth podcast this afternoon. John got beat up a little bit. He struggled a little bit. He wasn't on his A game today.
Did you guys have a guest appearance from, what's his face?
We had a
Eddie?
phenomenal guest.
Did Eddie chime in?
No. He wasn't commenting.
That's too bad.
Al Showing, legendary bodybuilder. And he was phenomenal today, wasn't he? I really enjoyed my visit with Al today. But Albuquerque in the national news.
Yeah.
I looked at every picture that the Journal put in there on social media and all that. Didn't see you. So I was, when I heard that there was a shooting, I got worried immediately. Going, man, Sebastian's sticking that phone somewhere. And then I saw a picture of somebody with a white helmet on, like a military-style helmet, with the Red Cross. I said, there he is. There's Sebastian. He's acting like he's a medic.
Yeah.
When I looked up closer, it wasn't him. National news, and so not in a good way, national news, that's for sure.
Well, do we ever make the national news for anything good?
Doesn't
seem like it.
I think the Duke City Gladiators, when they won 2 championships in a row, did not make national news. I did an interview today.
With
and
who?
You'll get a kick. ESPN Nashville and Tennessee Valley, right?
Okay.
And
the hotbed media market that is.
It was about Native American nicknames. I've told you that.
Yeah.
I do interviews on that, And so today was one of them. First question Tom Abraham asks me, right? What do you think the first question he asked me?
I couldn't even begin to guess.
He says, I see that. I hear that you won the championship in 2018
But you're
and
unemployed.
2019 back-to-back championships, and yet you're no longer there. I saw one of the owners say, "We want younger and hungrier." What's going on out there in Albuquerque? First question.
Wow,
I didn't think
how
he would
about
ask
that?
me that. You know,
How about that?
First question he asked me. So it's out there in Tennessee Valley.
There you go. I heard Coach is a real big deal in Tennessee Valley.
I love Tennessee Valley. I love the Tennessee Valley. It is gorgeous. You know, I mean, absolutely gorgeous. And it was about Native American nicknames, and we talked about it. And we talked about, you know, how does it affect you, and I mean, he was blunt in the question was, is the Redskins offensive? Mm-hmm. And I said, to me, it's not, you know, but just because it's me that's not offended by it doesn't mean that I speak for the American Indian, you know, community.
Well, and you've always kind of taken that real thick skin approach when it comes to, for as long as I've known you, when it comes to stuff like that.
And I said, just because it doesn't offend me doesn't mean it's offensive. And if it's offensive, because, you know, they were looking at, does the Native Americans belong with BLM, Black Lives Matter? I said, yeah, they do. You know, and so I said, it doesn't offend me, you know, but yet, you know, what we need to do, even though this stuff is offensive, is not be victimized by it, not be a victim by it and overcome it. And so I told them some of the things that offended me. You know, the skins, it doesn't offend me. It is what it is. But I can see where you know, you look up skins in the, you know, in the dictionary, it says it's a derogatory term.
Right.
You know, and I said, you know, Chief Wahoo, which we didn't get rid of until 2017, and he agreed. He was like, I couldn't believe that was very, very racist, you know. And then we were asking questions about logos, and he said, the Tomahawk Chop, the Atlanta Braves, how do you feel about that? I said, that offends me. I said, with my partner, I just thought he's a Brave fan, and we've argued over that, saying how offensive it is because it's a characterization. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, the number one merchandise that they sell down there is the foam tomahawk. And, you know, they're saying we're on the warpath when they start doing, oh, and it's a cartoon character of everybody thinking this is how natives went on the warpath when they, you know, when they did their thing. And I said, it's so offensive. And now I love it that they're in talks about doing away with it.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
You know, and I think it's about time that they go, only because I said the thing that's most offensive about all these things, and it's not the fans' fault. They don't really realize they're being offensive. You know, it's the government has extinguished, you know, the Native Americans to so much so that people don't really know what's insensitive or not. When you go to a Brave game and you see, or you go to a Skins game, or you go to a Kansas City Chiefs game, or you go and you see fans in regalia, like costumes, Native American costumes with paint on their face and fake feathers, and that's the stuff that's really offensive and disingenuous. I said, if we can really think about the other races, and if we did the same thing to the other races, what would it look like? You know, like people wearing yarmulkes to the games, you know, or people, you know, I mean, it really, and I said, it's 2020, and you know, I'm proud of the young people out there protesting and peacefully protesting to say enough is enough, and enough is enough. And so these things, it's wonderful to see how they change. Now,
on the interview today, did they ask you about your perspective about Oñate or
no, they didn't bring up Albuquerque at all.
Interesting.
They didn't bring up Albuquerque, which is, you know, in the earlier podcast, I talked about it a little bit. I know of the Pueblos, you know, in the past protesting about the Oñate. You know, I didn't know what the Hispanic culture or the Hispanic history of, you know, what happens with Oñate. And the reason why I wondered that is because of the gentleman, or not even gentleman, the guy that shot somebody, a protester, you know, was Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And so that, I got a little confused by that, going, is there a history of Hispanics that's good with Oñate? Or, or but it offended me that this guy, Hispanic, joining a group that really doesn't have a very good reputation, and that kind of hurts a little bit here in Albuquerque, because I've never experienced this in Albuquerque.
But he ran for public office here.
Yeah, he ran for city council. Yeah. But again, if you look at that word, nasty word, privilege, not too many people can get away and go fully armed to those type of scenarios and leave with their lives. I thought myself about going with a gun or something like that, and I'm like, I don't really want to risk it. I don't really want to put my life in somebody else's hands and me not be able to witness my kids' lives.
And that you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know what their motives are.
But
like, for example, I would never, I know he was being assaulted and everything until I saw it going, oh, that's not right. The protesters assaulting him, until I saw the videos. Mm-hmm. And I saw the videos, him going after women. Like, there are 3 videos
ton
out
of
there.
videos on social media now.
And there's him going after women. The last one where it caused protesters to chase him, he flung a young lady
Yeah, I saw that video.
down viciously. And you're going like, come on, dude, man, at least pick on the males there. Like, what are you thinking?
Right.
To throw that young lady viciously down. That's when, the hair on the back of their backs came up, and next thing you know, I don't know if it was one guy on top of them, because the video that I saw was from a distance, but then you heard pop, 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 and we talked about it a little bit. One of the things for me is I wish we had a little bit more love for each other, man. I wish we can talk about some of my closest friends, including you, are conservative. And you got to be able to talk issues. You got to be able to counterpoint without it getting to the point where, we're gonna personally attack each other.
Right.
You got.
Well, and that's gotten pretty bad now on the national scene. You see, it's. Yeah, I mean, the dialogue is pretty bad now.
Yeah, almost to the point there's no dialogue.
You can't turn, like we talked about last week, it's better just to turn that shit off, because people are digging into their side. I want to back up for a moment to the BLM thing you mentioned. Cool thing happened I think it's a cool thing happened today with the NBA. The players pretty much came out and said, hey, before we agree to go to the bubble in Florida, we'd like to know how the NBA and owners are going to address Black Lives Matters before we sign off on this. So they're not like the baseball players fighting about money. They're using their position of power, a political bargainer, as W.E.B. Du Bois used to say, and saying, hey, we want to see, what are these owners going to do? Are more owners going to follow the footsteps of Mark Cuban and put their money where their mouth is? What's the NBA going to do? What are you going to do to address minority hiring situations in the league? We would want to have a conversation about that before we pack our bags to Orlando. That's a perfect way to use your star power, I think. And it's a great context, or a great, juxtaposition to what's happening with baseball, where it's just all about money. These guys are making both sides making themselves look terrible. But I thought the NBA players, well, what a perfect way to use your power at this moment.
And these what the fan base has to understand, these teams, these leagues have to play, or they're going to lose billions.
No, I do think, I do think they'd be making a big mistake not to play, because was it Dwight Howard and somebody else came out and said, well, we might want to focus on this movement instead, but what better platform would they have if they're the only thing going on TV?
And I listen, I side with the players on this, where they get a full prorated salary.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I mean, the owners who have made millions for years.
And then now you have like DeWitt and Ricketts coming out and saying, "Oh, baseball's not a profitable sport." Well, then sell your fucking team,
exactly.
Okay? And just get the hell out of here.
Baseball's not profitable when they have one of the best revenue-sharing businesses.
When they're saying 40% of their revenue comes from attendance and it's billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah. And they have tax shelters that treat them like monopolies that can't be touched.
No doubt, exactly right. Antitrust laws.
that
No
don't
doubt.
affect them.
And I'm
No
surprised not a lot more sports media members are not more 100% pro player, because it is pretty, to me, it's cut and dry. They signed an agreement for prorated salaries, and now the owners are trying to bend them over again. I mean, what's there to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've played dirty here. I thought when Manfred announced we will play baseball this year,
Yeah.
that was a dirty tactic, because he didn't know he knew they didn't have an agreement through the CBA, and
Yeah.
And
Well, he knew he had
and-
his
and yet-
the nuclear option, if you will, to
well,
fall back on.
he knew he had the owners.
Right.
Well,
and the commissioner speaks for the owners, so-
Exactly. And so when he makes the announcement, we will, who's he put the pressure on then? He puts it on the players.
Yeah.
He knew he had those. He knew that they had those prorated issues. He knew it. And yet I thought that was a dirty tactic to try to use the media as a way to make the players look bad.
And what a horror! I mean, baseball. If they would have had their shit in order, they could have rolled out a season that maybe started on the 4th of July. They would have had the summer to gain. I mean, they would have gained.
4th of July was too soon.
They would have. Well, I mean, if they would have started, who knows? I mean,
4th of July.
speculative.
They got to
But
get
they would
those
have
arms
had,
ready.
They would have
They
had,
gotta
a chance to gain casual fans. I mean, people are watching the Korean Baseball League, for Christ's sake, at 5:30 in the morning. But instead, baseball doing what they always do, screwing the fans.
Let's talk about that star power, that influence over the community. We saw it yesterday in Stillwater, Oklahoma, my mother's alma mater, Oklahoma State University. We saw it, the uproar that it created within that locker room, that Coach Gundy had an OAN T-shirt on, and his number one player, Chuba Hubbard, or Chuba, however they say it, went ballistic and said, "I'm done. Nothing's going to move forward. Nothing this and that." Other players joined in. Former Cowboys joined in and saying it. And then the athletic director makes the announcement that he is extremely upset with what is going on. And, obviously Gundy straightened it out right away. I don't know what he did to straighten it out right away.
Let's talk about that video.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt, and
it's funny how the player was still the one apologizing in that video.
Well, apologizing for talking to Coach Gundy or tweeting Coach Gundy, but I think he had to bring it out. I think for you to watch OAN makes Fox News look like CNN. OAN. I mean, it's for
I reject the premise of you using CNN as the standard bearer for straight news.
No. It makes Fox News look like CNN from the left perspective. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so OAN is extreme
That's what
conservatism.
I've heard.
And so that's the thing where how do you pose in a picture and you have what's going on, and
to play devil's advocate,
African American players.
Someone just snapped a shot of him. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Someone just snapped a picture of him fishing or something. So it's not like he was like, "Hey,"
I don't know. I think that when you're in the business that he's in the days and age. Now I don't know. The one thing I don't know about the pictures. When was the
supposedly a private thing while he was fishing?
When was the picture snapped? What was the timeline?
Again, how many times have we said in the past 2 weeks tone deaf?
Exactly.
Right? How many times have we said that?
If you're a minority player for Coach Gundy, you're going to be upset by that. You have every right to be upset by that, and make sure that he's held to accountability because
released another
Coach
video
Gundy,
today.
Because Coach Gundy, he's gotten away with a lot at OSU. I mean, he hasn't won.
Especially against Oklahoma.
Exactly.
2-13 against Oklahoma.
He does. He pulls his temper tantrums. I had even heard that Boone Pickens came really close to firing him, and he was Boone Pickens' guy because they could not kind of control him because he became super spoiled.
Right.
In what they've done, and so he's so arrogant where he makes that hairstyle bigger than his football team. It's about me, you know what I'm saying, and it's this and that, and so I'm glad they held him to the fire. And I want to see that he was talking. I didn't see today's video, but he was talking about big change coming.
Oh yeah, today's video was. It looked like he, could have had a gun to his head behind him while he was reading the statement. So I mean, I don't.
terrorist hostage video.
Yeah, it looked
What
like
did
a
he
hostage
say?
video.
Did he
yeah.
apologize?
No, not really. I mean, he found every way to apologize without actually apologizing. You know, he said that he talked to his mom and this and that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who his mom is. I can't speak for the family, but I know that he's got his OAN philosophy somewhere. For that to be it, and that's the challenge with what we see today's day and age, man. The visceral from each side. I wish each side could understand each other a little bit.
So I was listening to the JR Sports Brief on CBS Radio last night. Caller called in and said, interesting point. He said, "Now, what if Coach wore a CNN shirt?" And oddly, he said one of his conservative linemen was real offended by that. As if linemen are conservative, and his conservative lineman was offended. So are we getting to that point?
It's not. No, we're not, because it's an uneven game.
Right.
One of the things, I saw something. You need to watch it, and you really need to watch it. Might be somebody that a Netflix special by Chelsea Handler.
Right.
And it was about white privilege.
Oh, excuse my privilege, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's about white privilege, where she goes
You
into
gotta watch Flint Town. Have you
goes
started
into-
Flint Town?
Hey, I was
That's a
shocked
commitment.
you watched Bill Maher. I would.
I've always watched
when
Bill
you
Maher.
sent out the thing about what Bill Maher said about defunding.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
And he's 100% right.
Well, he is, and I think that
He's
especially
right in
when
that the messaging is wrong.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
he still thinks that there should be reform.
Oh, of course.
yeah, I mean,
But,
but
hey, it's all about optics. And
Oh,
that
absolutely.
messaging is
yeah, but
It
when
is.
they
Frank
made
Luntz
two,
has won
they,
that war
they
in the
made
last 20
two,
years.
They made two great points.
But if
on
you
that
have watched,
segment.
you watched Flint Town?
I have not.
Oh my god! I mean, it's going to take some commitment. It's about
How many
6
episodes
or 7
is
episodes.
it? Yeah.
But it's. I mean,
I'm gonna watch it. There's
phenomenal.
no doubt I'm gonna watch it. Is it Netflix?
Yep.
And so the Maher thing, really talked about, Camden, New Jersey's, where they fired all the police force and rehired them, but their real goal was to get rid of the union, so they can have some reform, because the union wouldn't let them have it,
Right.
and it's worked. It's worked, and for it to work in that town, where I'm telling you, it's the butthole of the world, where I would pick Newark to live over Camden. For them to use that as a say, hey man, if it works here, it'll work in other places. And then one of his guests, I forget which one it is, made a phenomenal point, which was, I think we should take law enforcement out of motor vehicle violations. I think we should, because it's unfair to the to the police officer. It's unfair to him. Like, he was going, how many times has something escalated from a
Traffic stop.
a traffic stop, from a rolling stop, and I was talking today about, man, I've been pulled over for my license plate light being out, and
Daniel and I have had that happen.
and
There are like I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
there are cities that are outsourcing that to private companies that doesn't include a firearm. I mean, to me, there has to be another way.
Now that
because
has to eat at you.
Or-
Privatization.
I agree with you.
or even these private companies that see these motor vehicle violations and have the technology that records it.
Now, the counter argument to that,
and then
of
send
course,
them the ticket in the mail.
the counter argument to that, of course, is going to be, all those times they did take a dangerous motor vehiclist off the street, right? Saving potential lives.
I would think if they looked at the percentages as compared to not, because let's face it, motor vehicle stops are all about revenue.
Right.
When the law officers have quotas that they have to fill when it comes to tickets, it's about revenue and it's about warrant checking,
Right.
which is really
But
against.
the big backlash is going to be, hey, they could be getting someone off the street that's potentially could kill somebody.
But the track record of beating up somebody because they have a broken tail light, or shooting somebody because he's trying to provide, Philando Castile trying to provide his documentation that shows he has a concealed weapon, and you have these police officers that have these massive hats of responsibility
Right.
that's to me, that's what should be this of refocusing and
You know,
changing police.
Veteran cops, guys that have done it for
I have a great,
20 years.
I have a great thing to share.
Veteran cops will not stop motor vehicle people because they know it's not worth the paperwork.
And it makes them vulnerable. It makes them vulnerable.
As you know, I'm a proud European, right?
Yes, we do.
Born in Germany.
What is this?
Okay.
There are your papers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, is it the one about the amount of training? That
I know nothing.
In Norway,
He does look a little like Sean Schultz, doesn't he?
Yeah.
in
If
Norway,
he had a
so
helmet on?
Coach, listen to these. In Norway, the police required 3 years of training to become a police officer.
Wow.
Between 2002 and 2016, they've had 4 fatalities caused
How
by
about
police.
that? No doubt.
In Finland,
There's a better way.
there's a 3-year degree required. 7 people killed in 18 years. And in some other land, Deutschland,
Sie
in
Motherland.
Deutschland musst du 2 Jahren training, 2 years
Yeah.
of training.
Yeah.
And since 1990, only 267 people have been killed by
And
police.
what do we have? Like 8 weeks of training, and we put them out there.
A high school
And a
diploma
high
and
school
21
diploma.
weeks of training.
21 weeks.
And we had 1,004 deaths in
Yeah.
2019.
I mean,
I'm gonna put that
there's-
meme up now. So
There's no doubt that we need change. We need change, and it's god awful that the visceral that we show each other in this country. I mean, it's god awful to the point where how are you going to get change if you can't even talk to each other? How are you going to get
Gotta say
change?
something.
You and I have had philosophical discussions, but never to the point where, now. Can I get verbally assertive? Absolutely.
That's the
I
understatement
love
of
getting
the show.
I love getting verbally assertive. I love it. But are you that thin-skinned where you can't take it?
And I don't
You
think
get
you-
verbally assertive
Right.
back.
And I don't think you can.
Beautiful.
And I don't even think you can have a jump-off point for a conversation about police reform right now, with the way everyone's just digging into their sides.
And it affects when we talk about police doing motor vehicle work. Did you see the video of the? I told about it today. Chief of the First Nations. Now in our country we call them tribes. In Canada they call them First Nations. And the chief was eating at the casino with his wife and his niece and stuff like that. It was cold out, so he started his truck. And it was idling, and a real Canadian mounted police officer noticed that this truck was idling, and so he pulls up to the truck, and it's got late registration tags, and that's when he decides to make it official. Show that, put it up there,
okay.
and let's, it's a couple of minutes long. But he sees that he's got, he's got expired registration tags, and it just goes from there. And when he approaches the chief about
Today, showing an officer kicking a suspect.
when he shows, that's a different one.
That's not the Alberta one.
Let me see. Let that
Alberta
run.
arrest of First Nations.
But that might be a First Nations member. But look at that one. That one's a disgusting, egregious one too. Officer, why are you harassing us? I'm tired of you harassing us. That's ridiculous
Robin
that
Gill.
you pull up
Good
and
evening.
look to see if a car is idling
Thank
and
you
then
for
see
joining us.
come on, you got to show better. And then once you realize it's the chief of the First Nation, you got to show a little bit better judgment. And so they get into an argument. They
Goes
get
back
into
to the requirements of being on the force.
Yep.
Age
Yep.
and education.
Yep. And you get into it, and the next thing you know, he calls for backup because the chief is not. The chief got infuriated when he grabbed his wife. He was trying to put his wife in handcuffs, and the officer grabbed her arm, and she went, "Ow!" And he, like most of us would do, "Hey, you don't handle her so this and that." He calls for backup. Backup comes, and they pummel him. Like no discussion, no. And the guy that pummels the chief is a musclehead, young kid musclehead, and they pummel the chief. And when you see the picture, have you seen the pictures of his
It was
face?
disturbing. That is
Jeez.
Athabasca Chippewan First Nation Chief Alan Adam being tackled to the ground and punched in the head during an arrest in Fort McMurray in March. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he watched the video and called it shocking.
Like many people, I have serious questions about what happened. The independent investigation must be transparent and be carried out so that we get answers.
Global's David Aiken walks us through
Let's see if they show his face.
what we know about what happened the night of the arrest.
And so it's
2
all
a.m.
about control.
outside.
You know, we've got to have better control with law enforcement instead of just saying, hey, I'm law enforcement, I can pummel you. You know, and let's show the piece where let's see if they can show his face. Let's show. Well, you could. You can Google whatever. You know,
Well,
there it is.
there it is,
right there. You know, look what they did.
First
to him.
Nation Chief.
You know,
How about the bow tie on that guy right there? Huh?
Tucker Carlson fame.
Chief Adams says he, his wife, and
Look
his
at that,
niece
look at that.
were leaving a Fort McMurray casino at around 2 a.m. His wife was driving his truck when he says they were pulled over by the RCMP.
My wife rolled down the window. The RCMP raised his hands, put it inside the vehicle, reached over and put the truck into park.
They argued with the officers. Chief Adams says his wife was forcibly arrested. He was next.
It was just like a tag team match where one officer holds me by the arm and the other officer comes and just bridges me across the side of the tree.
Chief Adams shared photos
Look
of
at
his injuries on Saturday.
for expired tags.
Right? I mean, that's
For expired
crazy.
tags. And that's why with day and age. We showed a little bit of a piece. Did you see Dave Chappelle's 846?
Not yet.
Oh man, you gotta watch that. Let's bring that up a little bit.
Well, we run into issues
Yeah.
from Netflix copywriting it, so
Netflix copyrighted
Yeah,
it?
so, but they, I don't know.
It's on YouTube.
I know, but they still trust me. I'm
They
trying to
didn't
work
put it
around
on Netflix. They put it on
But
YouTube.
I know, but Netflix I think owns all his content for the next so long.
And the reason why he put it on YouTube is so people can watch it for free.
I know. Trust me, that's what I sent.
They're not going to be watching it for free here, Coach. That's the point.
I know, because I trust me. I sent that same message to Facebook when they flagged it, and then I said, well,
Facebook flagged the Chappelle thing?
yeah, the Chappelle clip, but I
We're
sent
on their radar.
I sent them a message.
They're going to
saying-
ban us like they ban all those conservative groups.
We're on their radar.
Although what my next strategy is white noise when we play something like that I'm going to start dropping it on top of it to mess with their algorithm.
But it was so important, the message that he went. Anybody out there, watch it tonight. It's on YouTube. It's for free.
Yeah.
846 is the title of it. He's on for 27 minutes.
My old friend Cindy Ashley is watching. Former owner and proprietor. You know that German restaurant and bar I'm always talking
Sure.
about? That's Cindy and Ken own that.
Coach Timothy Johnson, he said,
My
Coach B,
man,
what's
Coach
up?
Johnson.
Also, Albert, your brother, your Albert said hi, guys.
What Coach Johnson has had to go through and his family is sign of the times, man. You know, it's a sign of the times, and there has to be, Coach. Let's hope that the feds get whoever sent that, and they face the highest, possible, penalty that they can face, man, because that's egregious, and I'm embarrassed for those people that had the nerve to post that to a coach like Coach Johnson. I'm embarrassed by it, ashamed by it. That there are people out there that have that mindset to act upon it, and we're going to send this guy a message. A guy that's trying to help all kinds of kids, and try to steer them to a better life, and it's appalling. I mean, it's absolutely appalling.
We talked about the need to get together and talk, and since Cindy logged on, that was one of the things I loved about the grain station. It was right in the middle of the university area, and it would bring people together that otherwise would never be together, over just some good German food and beer, and we would talk about anything there. But people that were, if Daniel and I didn't leave the Heights and go over there, we'd never meet those guys. People from all over the city.
Daniel is Sebastian's ex. And so
That's not true.
they haven't been out in a long time.
We hung out a
Hence,
week
that's
ago.
the reason why Sebastian said, trim down a little bit, get back in shape, so. And if they went out a week ago, he might have Daniel's attention.
It was a real, you
You
know,
know.
it was what we were talking about now. It would be people from all parts of the city, people from, I remember one day a teacher walked in from Albuquerque Academy, just all,
But, the thing
eclectic
about
group.
it, too, though, is both sides are getting leeway. We've seen it in multiple states where, for a lack of a better term, militias are able to show up and
Yeah.
go in state buildings
Oh, yeah.
armed to the teeth.
Right.
Yesterday they were allowed to swamp that statue armed to the teeth. So it's going both ways. It's not like one way's getting all the rights and the other's
It's not like Facebook where just conservatives
Exactly.
are fucked. Exactly, right. And Amazon now is apparently in on that too now. Did you read about that? I'll send you the article. It's on Newt. I'm pretty sure you don't follow newt.org, do you?
No,
Okay, then I'll have to forward you the article.
my eyes are connected to my brain. I wouldn't do that.
And so I think the point being is even the dynamic that we have here in the booth, say between you and him,
Yeah.
you genuinely like each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though your politics are 180 degrees from each other. But that shows you the proof that we can get along. We can bring change
Right.
and make this a better place for your son and my son and, his future son.
Yeah, no, and then, like you said, it has to start with dialogue, and it has to start with people being able to be in a room and civilized.
Exactly. And,
But
and
it
you
also
gotta
has to
care
be.
about people.
It also has to be for one side. Put down your guns. Okay?
Well, you brought in- you
come to a table and one side's carrying guns.
You brought
and
in the
side's-
picture
It's
from
not that the other side doesn't have guns.
the Albuquerque Journal. Put that picture up on what they confiscated.
From four
What were
of
they
them.
called? What were they called?
What is it? New Mexico.
Civil Guard,
Civil
New Mexico
Guard.
Civil Guard.
And are you kidding me? They brought this to a
Yeah,
protest.
they took it off of 4 of them.
Seemed excessive.
Did
Did you see the picture?
Yeah. I didn't know what it was. He just sent me the picture. I just
Look at this picture.
I thought it was something from Chicago.
They brought that to a protest.
Yeah.
that was taken off of 4 of them?
Here in Albuquerque.
That's pretty crazy.
Here in Albuquerque. I mean, it's infuriating and heartbreaking at the same time. You're bad. You armed for war.
Yeah.
Like what are these people thinking? To have that much hardware there, what are they thinking? What is the goal?
You got a good haul for that at Ron Peterson's.
Is that, with that,
You know what the gun stores are saying? Oh, now they're out of firearms. They'll re-up.
and so, I mean, it's confusing to think that the humans, is that part of our culture? We have a violence culture here in this country and history. That violence culture, is this just, the tip of the iceberg where you say, hey, this is where it's at. This can't help. They talked about looting not helping BLM's, motives. This can't help the conservative motives. This can't help it. And so that's where we need to be on each other, communicating
Right.
with each other. You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to call it out.
Right. But I mean, I wouldn't go as far as, just painting with such a broad stroke that, okay, these are all conservatives, right?
Yeah.
Who else could they be?
Because this is a
Who else could they be?
this,
I mean,
is, this is
let's-
a right extreme group.
Okay.
That doesn't represent
So you're
mainstream.
not going to put conservatives with right. You're going to say they're two different.
No, I mean,
entities.
yeah, just where extreme leftists aren't, all liberals.
Liberals?
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, for the most
you have them on the fringes.
What do you think of that?
Now
I know Sebastian's conservative,
Yeah,
and
I
he's
know.
all for BLM.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I know that. I know he is. I know. But by the same token, the farther you get away from the center, the more extreme they are and the more that they harm the causes. So like the 2 guys in California that shot those police officers, those were right-wing extremists that were trying to start a race war. They figured, hey, we'll mix in with the protest, we'll kill a couple cops, then they'll blame it on Black Lives Matter.
Well, and the unfortunate thing about the extremes, whether it be an extreme on the right or an extreme on the left, most change and most governing has to happen at the center in a
Absolutely.
two-party system. I think
Yeah.
John McCain said that. We have to, most governing has to happen in the center. So when you're too far on either side, yes, you deeply care about what you care about, but chances of getting anything accomplished are very, very minimal.
That's the challenge. When you talk about reform and you need both sides working with each other, that's the challenge. But those are powerful statistics you brought in.
Right.
From
Well,
this.
and I have not read about it enough, so I hesitate to even bring it up. But the president did sign some police reforms into executive order.
So no chokeholds unless they're in danger.
Right.
So which that means that's nothing.
Gray
But
matter.
the one
Gray
thing that
matter.
I saw that was positive, which I'll give him props for, is to create a national registry. Okay? Because the FBI forever has said, we don't know. There's nobody tracking these police. And I saw a great term for it, and it happened on John Oliver. He talks about these gypsy police officers, that they get busted in one,
Yeah, they just move.
and then just move to a new
Well,
police.
was it in Florida where the department?
Oh
was
yeah, no, they're
recruiting?
offering. Yeah, they're recruiting. They're saying
I love it.
if you do something, come over here, we'll hire you.
But all I've heard today, so the reason I brought it up is all I've heard today is just negatives about this, and I said, well, I need to see what they actually are. And I
Yeah,
need
the
to read
one
about
positive, like I said, the one positive thing that I'll give props for is creating a registry. Outside of that, it was very toothless. So it says, okay, no chokeholds unless you're in danger.
What we really need to do is revisit, unfortunately, President Obama, under that administration, he had those 48 suggestions, and we really didn't, we didn't put any of them into place, zero. So we need to revisit those
He couldn't
suggestions.
put it into place.
No, he could have executive ordered, kind of like Trump is.
But
So
again,
we have a
executive
template.
orders
Let's go back.
aren't laws.
That's right, but
They're not laws.
They're basically
And they-
they're laws until you're out of office. and the
No,
next
because,
guy undoes it.
because they only apply to the federal purview.
Right.
Okay, so
But
like
we need to go back to that
And from a
list
state, it doesn't
because it was
affect state
it was an
or county.
It was an empty list of suggestions.
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
we need to revisit that.
But here's the
list.
challenge. This was a challenge back then too. I don't know what the 48 were. Like all 48.
Yeah, of course.
But if it could have been something that could have helped, he couldn't have passed that anyway.
Yeah.
Because
After 2 years.
yeah, he couldn't have passed that anyway. So it's just be a waste of time.
Well, we need to
even
look
put
back
it.
on those and
But
see.
there's no doubt. There's no
What-
doubt.
The most disappointing thing, and Trump already said this is a non-starter, is qualified immunity. He's saying he will not support that because and that's what qualified immunity is. It says that police officers get a blank protection that says they can't be sued.
Right. And I think that kudos to.
I think there needs to be a modified end to
if
qualified immunity.
that's true.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think
Kudos
blanket-
to the president, because let's face it, the president is feeling the pressure. He wants to run for re-election, and he doesn't want COVID and this to hurt his re-election bid, and it could very easily hurt his re-election bid. And so he's going to listen to the people more.
That and ramps, walking down ramps,
We'll get into that off the show. But, yeah, I mean,
because they're really
yeah,
slippery.
you guys are going to be so. All right, let me ask you an honest question. Don't pontificate. Just answer. Would you honestly be shocked if he was reelected?
I expect him to be re-elected.
Because I mean,
You know that. Why would you ask me that?
because I mean, this hide Joe Biden so he can't say anything dumb. I mean, this will only work for so long, right?
Yeah, but the
So-
only thing that you got to do with Trump, okay, is shut the fuck up. Like, don't open your mouth. Stop fucking tweeting. Let's.
Well,
let's-
so that
let's
applies
focus
to
your
both of
nuts
them,
and
right?
let's-
That
let's
applies
focus-
to both of them.
Let's
right?
focus.
So Uncle Joe needs to stay in the basement because
gives
when
a
he
So the moral of the story is don't.
Who
Don't
gives a
speak.
shit?
No,
That's
don't
not the point. The
vote
point is
for
not who we're
old
going to vote for.
senile
The
white
point
men.
is, listen, Mr. President, shut the fuck up and we got this.
Just like the police
only
chief.
thing that
Who
you
was
can
it that
do,
used to say,
the
"Shut up
only-
and lead"?
Yeah, the only
Someone
thing
wrote a
that
book
you
named
can
Shut Up and
do,
Lead.
the only thing you can do is hurt yourself, and that's the only thing he can do is hurt himself.
It's true.
With the craziness, and it's really, I want to see what the Democrats are going to do when the election comes in, campaigning comes in, and see how much of COVID, how much of this are they going to bring in.
Well, we know what they're going to do. They're going to piss down
All
their
I
way.
know is
They're gonna run on
is
they're
my
gonna run on
man,
defund the police.
Colin Powell when Colin Powell speaks, is he going to be able to sway? Now remember, they only need a small percentage of swing over votes.
Well, there's not.
They only need a small percentage.
It's not only Colin Powell. So there's a website.
Oh, yeah.
There's a website
Oh,
called
yeah.
Republican Voters Against Trump.
Yeah.
RVAT.org.
Right.
Bill Kristol started.
And
it.
I even said, you've heard
From the
me
Conservative
tell,
Standard, yeah.
You've heard me say this to both of you. The hell with the presidential election. Get the state and the Senate. You get the state and the Senate. Don't make a difference if Trump is the is the president. Get both houses, and then let's go from there. And I think there's a good chance of that.
I don't think so.
You know,
I
you
think
better
you guys-
hope
I think
not.
you guys are
You better hope
very
not.
disappointed. in
There's only
election night.
four. There's only four, and it's suburban soccer moms. The midterm election, I think, we're a canary in the coal mine to show how that transition can make, and 42% not voting in the election. Yeah, all it takes is like 5% more to come out and go to vote in swing states. I think he stepped on his nuts in Michigan.
Somebody made an interesting point today on the 5. I don't remember if it was Juan Williams or no, I think it was Greg Gutfeld. And he said, liberals are going to be really disappointed on election day because right now people are probably even afraid to admit to a pollster that they're going to vote for Trump. And
The Brady effect.
and yeah,
Bradley.
we've talked about that before. And he brought it to Juan Williams' attention. He said, Juan, it's the same thing like when a black person admits they're conservative. What do you guys do? You ostracize, you call them Uncle Tom, they're afraid to even admit that they're a black conservative. So I think that's a pretty plausible theory that there could be enough people now that are just afraid to even admit that they're going to vote for Trump. And so these polls are going to be as inaccurate as ever.
Yeah. And it's the same way on the other side of the fence. That's what's so darn frustrating.
These can't be the best two choices to lead.
Oh, man, do you think? I mean, that's where we're at because it's almost like if you're a sane person, okay? If you get it,
Well, then you
if
vote
you get
libertarian.
human nature,
George
if you get all that, why in the world would you go become a cop? Like, there's got to be something wrong with you if you want to become a cop nowadays. Because you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't.
Hello, teacher. If you want to become a teacher, isn't the same thing? We've been being defunded for years
Right.
and expecting high standards
Right.
and still do great. Okay. All the other different industries that they defund, our entire criminal justice system is a mess because it's based on profit.
And I think that's one thing that I agree with Stephen A. Talking about a sports guy when he talks on, he's a little conservative, Stephen A.
I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't?
No.
What he talks about on Fox News, he's regularly on Fox News.
It's not that regular. But
Oh,
go
yes,
ahead,
yes.
finish.
But
you
what
were
he
saying.
said was he's offended by the militarization, the money spending on law enforcement, and yet there are teachers out there that got to buy their own,
Class supplies and
supplies and stuff like that.
have pencils for kids.
I
and
know
notebooks.
this. My wife's a teacher. I get on my wife periodically. Go, why are we spending our money for stuff in
because
in the
education
classroom?
has been defunded and nobody had an outroar over that.
And my wife doesn't care what I say, as Sebastian knows. So she does what she wants to do.
Says, Coach, when you get that check from your 2018 salary, then you'll have a fucking voice in this house.
So exactly when you can kick in, and so that's the thing. You're absolutely correct, man. You're absolutely, and I'm changing as we go along. The general asked me today, "How's this? What's my thought?" Remember, he said, and I just went, "Man, these young people that are protesting's reinvigorated me. They've created a little bit, of energy." Because they have the courage to do what they do, I could start thinking about how am I going to make a difference, because
Where I have hope is that hopefully that offsets the Bradley effect. The people that won't tell a pollster that they're going to vote the way that they're going to vote when they get into that private booth. I'm hoping that those 90-some million that didn't vote in the last presidential election, if 4 or 5% of them come out, that's
If
my
you
hope.
guys don't stop saying defund the police, Trump's going to get reelected. I can promise you that right now.
And it's the Republican agenda that's focusing on the defunding. They want to defund, and they don't want to defund. They've got you're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
they
but
got to
that's
use
what they've
different
labeled it.
terminology.
Yeah, it's
they got to lose that. They got to.
By all
Wouldn't you
means,
agree?
keep saying it.
Wouldn't you agree that
I agree. The messaging
See, here's
is
the
bad on
thing.
it.
You got to be careful when you say that, though. When you say it with such glib, you got to be careful with that, because if the Republicans get in, are they going to be able to follow through on reform?
I think so.
You know, because that's going to be,
They won't.
that's
They
the thing
won't.
that you got to be
That's their
careful
bread and butter.
when you be glib
Well, the
about
president's
that.
already started. He's already, executive ordered some.
An executive order isn't the law.
That only affects, so where they can
isn't
hold
the
local,
law.
so they can say, okay, a local police department, we're going to give you some federal funds if you do this. Okay, just like states are given the option to set the speed limit at 65 or 75. If you want to set it higher, you can, but then you run the risk of losing federal dollars. So it's that concept of federalism, this balance between the federal government and state and local governments. So his executive order only applies to federal dollars.
Yeah.
So these
Not near
podunk,
enough.
yeah,
Not near enough.
Yeah,
Not
so-
near. And so that's the thing. You can think the way you want, but when you're glib about it, and you have a public forum, and you have a little bit of a public forum, which your I Can't Focus show.
It's Local Focus
Oh, is that what
with
I keep
Sebastian
forgetting.
Noel.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting.
dude, when are you going to go back
Thinking-
on? Aiden needs to get on there.
I know, right?
I keep thinking of.
Well,
I
our
Can't
studio's still
Focus with
boarded up.
Sebastian Noel.
Our studio doors are still boarded up. So
But they think you guys are going to get rioted
I
in there.
think
know,
so. I think
and
John
so-
Jones boarded it up for us.
And so you have to be very careful
Well, look, I'm
with
talking
what you
from
say.
a political science philosophy. We're having bring the discussion to just political science, okay? The Democrats will fuck up this election.
Like
That's
they
all I'm
always
saying.
do.
That's
Like
all
they
I'm saying.
always do.
That's all I'm saying.
Like they always
It's gonna
do.
happen.
But now
You
that's
combine a horrible candidate with what they traditionally do in elections, and it's going to happen.
Well,
except for Obama, he won twice, and then they
I
didn't fuck
think-
that up.
Yeah, but if Trump wins the second one, that throws that theory out the window. I think what happens is, we learned about how reliable the polls are when Trump became president. We learned how reliable they are.
Unreliable.
I mean, yeah, you're right, unreliable.
Yeah.
And so it's that unreliable. And so the more to the middle Republicans that are out there, and
How many
they
times
see
in
and
history,
they see
when a guy is able to run as the law and order candidate,
as the
he
incumbent.
always
Yeah.
wins.
And the
The Democrats are making sure that Trump can run as the law and order candidate.
and I think times have changed though. I think times have changed. What we've seen in the streets the last couple of weeks, when you see the athletes, the athletes aren't just going to be vocal now on Black Lives Matter issues. They're going to get big time. You saw the referendum that LeBron's running with getting people to people to
But if you have
vote.
if you have
that's
anarchy,
that's what Obama did when he run his first. What happened to Obama?
Well,
He went
his
on
victory is a
MTV.
lot more
He went on-
technologically,
He went on MTV. He went to anything where young people migrate to get them to vote. And I think the athletes and all the major sports now, obviously a majority of them lean to the left.
right?
But you can't discount the Ted Nugent, the
No
Kid
doubt,
Rock.
no doubt.
They're celebrities that they have.
But there's only
Yeah, no,
a few
I'm just
on
kidding.
a couple of hands.
But I can promise you this: if you look at what's going on in Seattle with that mess, if that starts coming to a city near you, guess what? Those citizens are going to vote for the law and order candidate. There's no doubt.
I agree with you.
I think to a minimum, I think that can happen, because I think everybody agrees, that reform has to come. Everybody agrees that these police unions have to end. And have a different philosophy, and when change has to come, okay, it's got to go so deep for change to come. So one-sided. Okay, we've had that one side now for 30, 40, 50 years now. And then when change comes, it goes 180 degrees to the other way, to where, it goes overboard the other direction. And then once it goes overboard in the other direction, they find their barometer on when you talk about systemic change, and that's the thing that, talking to your boy Pat today, and he was saying, watch what happens when Chauvin's found not guilty, because he's going to be found not guilty.
You think so?
That's what Pat said. Watch what happens when he's found not guilty.
Just takes one.
Watch what happens in the streets of this country. And I said, why do you say he's
Are
going
they
to
moving
be...
the trial to Simi Valley?
Yeah, right? I said, why do you say that? And here's a thought process. Why do you say that he's going to be found? I go, well, when they find out that he had this in his system and he had that in his system. I said, Pasquale, you're missing the point. 8 minutes
But he's
and
speaking in
40
reality.
seconds. That's not,
I mean, I hope not, but
that's not going to give the
about-
justification for putting a knee on a neck for 8 minutes and
John said
46
it only
seconds.
takes one.
It's not going to give justification for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I don't care if he's been in jail. I don't care if he was a porn person. I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't justify being, a knee in your neck for 8 minutes and 40 seconds while you're subdued.
But remember,
while you're handcuffed.
like he said,
I don't care what you had in your system. I don't care. Murder, here's the difference of what's happened here and what's happened in the past. This one was recorded from A to Z.
Okay, but Rodney King was recorded, and they moved the trial to Simi Valley. The jury was full of ex-police officers, ex this, ex that, and look what happened.
And that was how long ago?
92.
92.
Yeah.
Times have changed. The court systems are, they're not going to be the good old boy systems anymore. The public is not going to allow that anymore. This is a little different. Rodney King survived.
Right.
This kid was killed.
Right.
Rodney King, those officers were charged
But that
with.
should have been a
those
slam dunk.
officers were
That should have
charged
been
with
a-
assault.
that should have been a-
This officer is charged with second-degree murder.
Right.
And so that's the thing where, and maybe for the movement, when you talk about the movement, maybe the best thing for the movement, you're going to think this is crazy, is cleared of murder. And it does go to the streets again.
Right.
That the streets,
But then change doesn't happen. Then we just repeat this cycle.
Well,
Justice
I
needs to
mean,
happen for that family.
That's my point. And who can make the change? Our officials, our elected officials can make the change. And that's the reason why this election is so important, because there is a certain faction of Republicans that are supporting, instead of saying, hey, this isn't about over-policing. This is about the systematic profiling and killing of minorities without consequences. Let's not lose what this is about. And when we can alleviate that kind of change, then maybe something else can change. Maybe then we can alleviate the chop.
I think it's best to talk about this in terms of just police reform. That's the only way you're going to get maybe people at the table, because
But how
if
do
you
you
can
get
extract
police reform? How do you get police reform when you don't have the unions?
Right, but what I was going to say, if you can extract race from that debate and just make it about police reform.
How do you like that?
I saw that one the
little
other
cartoon?
day. Yeah,
Dylan Roof on the
is
left-hand
awesome.
side.
he bought a hamburger on his way.
Oh yeah, well yeah, he went to church with people, prayed with them, then he executed 8 people. So the police show up, they take him without incident, and on the way to the police station, they take him by Burger King because they said he was hungry. And on the right, they're showing this African American.
Not only does he kill them, he prays with them before he does it.
And executes them, yeah.
He prays with them before he does it. Great. Albert Charles, what's going on, my brother? What's happening, my man? What's your thought process on what's going on out there? I'd really be interested as a doctor in psychology and a teacher of young students. Should we give Albert a call?
Yeah.
And see what he has to say about this. Yeah, ask him if he wants to come on. And see.
But my larger point was, unfortunately, race-based arguments usually don't bring solutions, because it creates a us versus me. So you really want to look at this under the scope of police reform, and it needs to happen.
I agree with you, but it hasn't. And to blink to bring police reform, how are you going to get outside of the FOPs or the,
Right.
how are you going to be able to do that?
So it's a question of what is appropriate, authorized state
PBAs.
power. Not a race question. What is an appropriate, authorized?
Why are you asking?
No, that should be the question.
Okay.
That should be the debate.
What do you think?
No, I
Start it off. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think the chokehold should be gone. I've always said public sectors shouldn't have unions. Public sector jobs like that. The chokehold should be outlawed. Qualified immunity is going to have to be on the table, but just blanket no qualified immunity. I mean, that's not going to fly. Because then you and I could sue somebody for pulling us over in a traffic violation. So that
Which, if they violate
then
your
I was
civil
gonna
rights,
say, if they don't
should.
have cause to pull
If they
you
don't have
over,
cause,
But then you would have no police force at that point.
like for example,
Because then
Let's-
they're
let's-
underpaid
let's-
as it
let's-
is, then no one would take that job.
So that would, to me, that would be a great starting point. You say, you know what, this is the being one of the toughest jobs in the world. Okay, so we need to pay our police officers. They need to be highly valued. They need to be highly compensated. That should be the first
Pay
step.
to send them to college. That's what they should do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and get rid of cops that have all these negative marks on their records. So there's no way that a police officer should have 16 violations and still he should be giving out parking tickets or sitting at a desk and answering a phone.
Right.
No
But I
way
think
should he
once
have
you
a
get
weapon.
if you can make the race thing, the race argument, just extract that from it and just have it be about what is appropriate state authorized power, then I think we can start having real reform.
But see,
it doesn't bring the emotion into it.
I know, but historically,
Everyone can agree.
you mean from the states having their own power within
No,
the
I'm
state?
talking about police power. What is an acceptable police force? What is an acceptable use of their
All
power?
right, from a state point of view, you talk about let's debate this. What do you think Governor Lujan Grisham should do with our policing?
No, I don't mean state as in states' rights, not like that.
Okay.
No, I mean the police state, the state. So it didn't mean state in that context. Just what's an appropriate use of power? That should be the argument.
Use of power. I'm confused what you mean by use of power.
the power that's
Well,
given to a police officer.
Right? The power that's
So
given to.
when can they decide to draw their weapon?
Right.
When should they decide to
How do they disarm somebody? How do they do this? How
The
do they?
hypocrisy when I hear about this, okay, makes me think of a police chase. And once that police chase starts getting near the public, they have to go no code. They got to pull away. They got to
Which they should.
Because the public would be in danger. Why isn't it that way across the board?
But that's what I mean. If we can get this argument just into the terms of what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate for police, that takes the race question out of it, and that takes all the taking sides, us against we. It's just solutions never happen in these race questions. That's the problem.
Does this happen? Let me throw something else out there on the table and see what you guys think. Are we at this point because of the mass criminalization that we've put against this country in the last 40 years? It's the
I believe
criminalization.
you're referring to the Clinton crime bill.
The Clinton crime
Part of
bill,
it.
Ronald Reagan, Richard
on drugs.
Nixon.
The war on drugs.
Oh, that's I mean, is this
Southern
is this
strategy
a
of Nixon.
byproduct? Yeah, is this a byproduct?
Well, we have too many laws.
of
We have
that?
too many laws.
Is
There's
this a
too many laws.
byproduct to where a motor vehicle stop could be disastrous for both sides, law enforcement and the people inside that car?
It's
You know.
Jim Crow 2.0. Okay,
It's a heavy statement.
it's dealing with a minority population. It's throwing them into prison, disproportionate to their population. Okay,
Which is what that meme that you put up with the
Oh, absolutely.
roof. That's what that meme is.
Oh, no.
Where we are today and in today's day and age, and so what should, let's put it this way, not what is the power, what should the states do? Whether your governor is, blue or red, what should the states do?
Well, I have started reading, by the way, the new Jim Crow. So it arrived today on Amazon.
But
You got the- you
so
got
do you
the,
so do you
book
see
on
the
phone?
do you see the correlation?
No, I
Are
like
you
the
ordering?
Yeah. Do you see the correlation that I'm trying to make a comparison on? So after the end of the Civil War, okay, Reconstruction happens, and that becomes a horrible failure because the whole promise of 40 acres and a mule doesn't happen. This whole idea that now there's going to be retribution, it doesn't happen. People and African Americans eventually migrate away from the South and move to urban areas. Okay, so but you have 100 years after the Civil War to even the Civil Rights Movement, the Voting Rights Act, the ending Plessy versus Ferguson, which allowed segregation in school, and moving to Brown versus Board of Education, which ended that. So when you say, well, if we remove race from the equation, we've made progress.
From the argument.
Yeah.
And not from the equation, because it's there.
Yeah.
And if you don't think it's there, you're blind.
Oh, I know.
But it's easier to make reform when it's just a legal argument.
I can understand that. I understand that. But again, unless they ever accept responsibility or put skin in the game, that none of those things are ever going to
I
happen.
think Derek Bean says it best.
The head
Sports
coach of
help
the
bring
Hot
communities.
Springs Tigers, Derek Bean.
Sports help brings communities together, and
State
they're right.
champ.
And they're right. Yep, and that's a great point, Derek.
And why? Because sports aren't reflective of the population
Because
of America.
Sports is a meritocracy. It doesn't matter what you look like.
Exactly, but it's not 11. Okay, so what's the NBA's demographic? What, 70-80% African American? Our population isn't 70 or 80% population, so that's why they hold so much power and leverage over it. Okay,
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get Leanne in here real
We're going to
quick.
lose my camera here. I'm at 1%.
Yeah, that we made a mistake of unplugging that during the show today.
I recharged it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get.
And you know how iPads take forever to charge
I know.
up
Well-
and stuff like that. So let's get him another camera.
Okay.
And because we can't lose that skinny
Well,
face.
what I'll
of
do
his.
is
That
I'll give
skinny
him
face.
my camera. My mug doesn't need to be on.
Well, I'd love for your mug to be on with Leanne on. So let's get her on. Let's end this show with a little bit of fun. Her little bright smile.
Okay.
And so, but let's get back to a little bit of baseball.
Yeah.
Do you believe, while he's taking care of this, do you believe that we're going to see baseball this year?
No.
Do you believe that, how about what Kyrie Irving, said about
Flat Earth?
let's
Oh, no, not
let's
flat Earth.
not play. Let's not play. Let's show them. Let's take basketball away. And obviously LeBron and everybody said, no, let's play.
Yeah, Kyrie, you know.
But even, listen,
Rough messenger there.
even the best, I don't know if I'm going to watch the reboot of this,
the
in
NBA?
this tournament style. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe it'll be like remind me of college,
Right.
or whatever. And the same thing with the NHL. They're going in Las Vegas and in Canada. So it's the same thing, with the two sites and the rebooting of it.
Do you think there's going to be baseball?
Oh man, I hope so. I don't know.
Well,
who's gonna cave? Are the players going? And should they cave?
No.
On because if you're talking about losing money, they're going to lose money. I'm
What's
talking
funny,
about baseball.
Another great contrast. You talk about a sport that hardly makes any money at all. WNBA. They're going to play a shortened 22
They
game.
lose money.
Yeah, they're going to play a shortened 22 game season. Full salaries for the players.
Listen, the salaries that the players,
Right,
you knew
but-
the salaries that the players were getting.
But
You'd
everything's
be a little amazed.
But
They're
it's
going,
still
"Man, how
apples
could
to
they have
apples
had
because
that?"
they're also not making any money. So
Yeah, and
These
the
owners are just
WNBA
the
has
worst.
perennially been a loser.
Right.
They have never made a cent, not a cent.
Right.
They have been obviously, supported by the NBA, and the NBA has played it. Now that being said, it's a good product.
now, can I circle back to we were talking about removing statues earlier,
Wow, you want to get serious?
and there's a statue that I've been it's not really a statue, but the statue I want to crumble.
let's see, who hit a home run to end the Braves?
No.
Joe
No,
Carter.
it goes back
was
to
that
what we
the
talked
Braves?
about last week.
Refresh my
I want the Darlene Jones statue to come down.
You know, that's
When
you,
are we gonna?
you made a you
when
made
are we
a
gonna
good
have?
point.
When are we gonna have someone from that league on to?
You made a good point, and I think that I really thought about that.
There we go. Yeah, so that's the statue I'd like to see come down.
I
name on
really
that
thought
award.
about that when you texted me that message. I really did. I pondered it, and I've always been turning the other cheek because I'm thick-skinned. I was raised in football, and all those things. But I came to the conclusion that you're right. To have, an award named after her, when sometimes she was very hurtful,
Right.
you're right. And I think when I get back from Oklahoma that we are going to have to give Ricky Burks a call and say, hey, we need you to come on and
For something serious.
and for something really serious and
And lay out the case.
there's some other coaches that don't speak well of her.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
I mean, we're going to have to lay out that. I mean, I want to lay out the case. So it can't just be your anecdotal story. It has to be, players. It has to be other coaches. We want to make the case.
It also, we've got to be able to, you're right, we've got to see if her assistant would come on because he was there. Matt was there.
Right.
So Matt will definitely come on and speak about what happened and how it transpired and everything. And I think that, I really thought about it and went, why would I want to be able to do that? And I said, because that type of behavior's got to end. That type of behavior has got to end. When she was commissioner, I asked her a question one time. What do you like better, being owner or a commissioner? Oh yeah, commissioner, 1,000 times over. I don't have any bills, and so that tells you what her motivation was. Her motivation was that was her form of power. In her life.
Right.
And within that power structure, she waived it. She used it.
Right.
And so, but, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and I think that's a cause that I'll vote yes for. And we'll start making inroads to, I don't want to put Ricky or Sonny or the league, on blast and, make them look, bad. But you're right. That needs to be brought to the forefront. You're right, and, what really she knew she had done wrong.
Right.
And how I knew she had done wrong is she tried to suspend me for 2 weeks.
Well, and
when she tried to suspend me for 2 weeks, it was a meeting with 2 other guys and myself. It was a conference call. And I said to her, okay, you're going to suspend me for 2 weeks, which was the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Then I'm going to every native outlet and told them what you did, what I do. And when I repeated it, the phone went dead silence.
Right. I remember you
When I
telling me that
repeated
story.
it went dead silence. And for about 2 minutes, minute and a half, dead silence. And she went, I'll call you back, and hung up.
Right.
And then she put out a ruling later that night or the next morning regarding, okay, there'll be no suspension, there'll be no fine. She knew it. She knew she was wrong because her assistant said to her, he was like,
Right.
aghast.
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe
You
it.
can't say that. You can't say that. And so maybe I didn't do right.
Well, this is
then
your chance
when-
now to atone for that.
Right. Maybe I didn't do right by holding her accountable for that. I just said, nothing's going to, hurt my thick skin. That's not going to bother me. I'm not going to, and that bothered me.
Right.
That bothered me.
Right.
And so maybe it's time to say, okay, even if something is simple, we're not going to, hand out a bowl. Okay, and if you're going to hand it out, here's who you're handing this out to. Here's, other owners, fan bases. Here's the situation. Players, here's the situation, and it's not to hurt anybody.
Right.
It's to clean up a mess.
Yeah, and with your experience, our platform, I think that's how you make a difference.
Yeah.
That's your realm. That's your world, and that's why I think
Yeah, no doubt. And so, as we're getting towards the end, is Phil back there? Oh, so Phil took the night off. And so that's pretty cool. So to end the show, John will allow you to make the introduction, and I'll play my my normal point counterpoint.
Oh, okay.
And so go ahead. Let's introduce the stunning guest that we brought in.
And let me bring her camera up. That's why I went in the back and I told her, I said, you're ready for your close-up. And let me adjust my camera here before.
he never makes sure our cameras are working
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
There's
no,
no doubt. I noticed when
point him right there,
did
too.
you hear, like, he's the producer. Did you hear the sound effects when he went out to say hello to her? Did you hear the sound effects?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Can we replay those sound effects, Mr. Producer?
No, I
Can you
completely
bring
lost
it
them.
back on?
No.
There was a loud smack, like a loud, like moist lips smacking together, to the point
Now you know what you're going to be on the show
me and
for.
Sebastian went,
Do I get kissed?
who's that, who you introducing?
Well,
Mr.
we got a friend
Producer?
of the show here and a friend of the grill, Laura Leanne. Yeah.
Laura Leanne, we brought you in for the last segment, Laura Leanne. Listen, what was that smack all about? I mentioned your name to John today, and it's one of the first times I saw a brown man turn red. And so,
What did Don Rickles used to do? Kick his leg. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
the only word that comes to mind for me is sparks. So, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
I know the only reason why you came on is because of John.
No, he said you asked me.
Oh, I did ask you, but I
Little did John know he was being ambushed.
Oh, yeah.
I've been used to this for 2 years.
this superstar here has got my partner across from me looking so fabuloso.
The
that
road to fabulous.
He's
The road to fabulous.
He's wearing stripes. Now
I
that's how
always
far.
wear stripes, Coach.
That's how far we've come
This
with
is an old shirt.
Sebastian
That's
and his.
not true.
The Sebastian Noel makeover. You know what I'm saying? And so, tell us, how did this start? This Sebastian Noel makeover.
Coach, I didn't know this was going to go this way. I thought we were.
You thought you were going to
It was okay if it was you.
I was like, finally, and I should have known.
How'd the makeover come about?
How did the makeover come about? There are many people who adore Sebastian and telling him we just need to take care of things. And I said, I'll be your partner. And we've been doing this for about 5.5, 6 weeks
Really?
Yep.
How did you meet Sebastian?
here at the grill.
Okay. And did you go, now that's one big hunk of man when you met him?
Sure.
That's one big
That's not how I remember the story, Coach. I think you have some blame in this.
I do.
Oh,
Yeah, you were there.
No doubt.
Was I there when you met? When the
This is the way I tell the story to my friends.
okay.
Oh, dear.
Does he have friends, John?
Yeah.
I thought we're in.
So I tell him, I said, here we're at the grill, we're doing our thing in the back, and in walks Laura Leanne, just, disgusted at all of us. But Coach, being the typical opportunist that he was, the way he could just focus the attention off him was everyone turned on me at once. Yeah, fix Sebastian. And that's how it happened.
Is that what you remember?
That's what I tell my friends.
It's a little bit of both.
I don't remember that at all.
It was a little
I
rough.
thought we talked about Sebastian with love
Mm-hmm.
and compassion.
Aggressive love and compassion.
Concern.
Aggressive compassion and love and
Okay.
concern.
And so we kind of threw this challenge at you and Sebastian.
Yeah.
We did.
You are a piece of work.
Accepted.
We threw this challenge. At the beginning, it was a 30-day challenge. You
No.
were
I was
kind
not a
of-
30-day challenge. The
right.
dip
Initially,
was a 30-day
yeah.
challenge.
Initially, you were repulsed by his
Everything about us.
tobacco, not us.
No, yes, and then you guys turned. And then you guys turned.
You were repulsed by his chewing habits.
I remember
Well,
it like
chewing.
it was yesterday.
And you asked a qualifying question to him about his, and I remember this question like it was yesterday, and it was probably the most qualifying question that's been asked him in the last decade of his life. You said, Sebastian, do you like getting laid?
You said that, Coach. You said that. You said that.
Sure, that was so mean.
I remember
You know.
it like it was yesterday.
And so
She observed how unhealthy all three of us were, and you and Phil quickly turned on me.
wow.
That is exactly what happened.
First of all, Phil looks healthier than healthy. Phil.
No, but if you remember at the time, he was like on his 15th beer. So,
That-
but you two quickly turned on me. And to
and
focus
look,
on.
if it's true, which John, I'm saying, I have no recollection. You know,
Oliver North, I do not recall.
But yeah, you weren't there, so you could not recall.
I have no recollection.
But doesn't that sound a lot like Coach's
But-
behavior
but
now that
all-
you've gotten to know him?
But you're going to agree with him?
I did not say a word.
Don't you dare
Be very
play into
careful
his
how you
rhetoric.
tread when you're
Into his rhetoric. You know what I'm saying?
His silent, much
So-
like Jerry Jones, his silence speaks volumes.
You know, the blessings that came out of that night have been
Agreed.
plentiful. You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? Like, I know he's gone down in size in his tighty whities.
Coach.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
There you go again.
He put on his old tighty whities and they started falling off, the tighty whities, and he went,
I wasn't there to visualize that, but I'll take your word for it.
yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I visualize him in his tighty whities. I think, that's how I'll gauge improvement. Improvement on him, man. You know what I'm saying? And so when Sebastian walks in front of me, I check his ass out when he's in front of me.
So when you're in a
just to see how
thong, we've
it's-
achieved.
Listen, can you imagine? That's the
I could feel those violating eyes on me when I walked past you. Now I know.
And
Now I
Matt,
know.
don't get jealous.
You've been
Matt.
Me Too'd. Yeah.
Don't get jealous, Matt.
Exactly.
And so those are the things that he walks with. You can see his walk is just a slight different, a little bit more, flexible. Yeah, I mean,
I don't
you really can. You know what I'm
His
saying?
dimples are
And
showing
so
now.
He's starting to wear hats that
His
don't look
dimples.
like 2 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag. You know what I'm saying? So the hats are starting to fit him a little bit better. No, I'm serious, man.
Coach, you don't even own a hat
When
that
he
fits
laughs,
But his dimples are coming out.
You notice dimples now when he has that, and so I'm being dead serious. You have done an amazing job with him, and he seems like he's been
And
an
his
amazing
discipline.
pupil.
His discipline.
you. Well, look at the time we
He
have to
seems
go.
like an amazing pupil. How did this come about? What did you do to get
We
him
just
to buy in?
explained it. What are you saying?
What did you do to get him to buy in to the point 6 weeks later, he's still on a, he's still doing it. He went back to chew, but not as much as he used to. So he's cut back on that. But what techniques have you used to get him to buy in to say, it's time to get a little healthier?
Well, pretty much that. You better get healthy or the next thing you're wearing is probably a pine box,
It's a big pine box too.
Cremation would probably be easier.
That's a big urn too. That's a big urn.
Get a coffee can from Ralph's.
Urn
You've seen the
and
big
a half,
Ralph's?
yeah, right.
Get the coffee can from Ralph's.
An urn and a half. When the time
mean.
comes. Hey, I'm with them too. I'm what you think I'm going in one urn. They ain't fit me in one urn. That's for sure. So.
I never judge people by size
Size
urn.
urns. Hang out with us. You're going to learn all new things.
Urn judgment.
You're going to learn all new things when you hang with us.
I
And
have
so,
for weeks.
Tell
learned
us
so
what
much.
kind of student has he been?
For me, awesome, incredible. I mean, he's absolutely dedicated, and we stay in touch constantly and make sure that we're on the same page. And
We try to schedule our meetings when you're not here, Coach.
he does.
Makes it a lot more productive.
When the grasshopper is ready, the teacher will appear.
So you came over the weekend. How was the live music here?
It was fun. Actually,
it?
I put it on Facebook,
Yeah, I saw it.
but I couldn't tag it. It wouldn't let me tag out.
Yeah.
When the grasshopper is ready.
And the grasshopper is right.
students
But
will
by
appear.
Christmas, that's another 6 months. We'll have an even different look.
Tell the ladies, take it. Be attentive. Watch.
Look for
Patience
those
is a
dimples.
virtue.
Look for those
Patience is a
dimples.
virtue. I've noticed. I've noticed since you've come into the world of the grill,
Everyone's been dressing better. Not me. I'm still sandals, shorts.
right? I've noticed that John is smiling a little bit more these
Okay,
days.
here we go.
He was the pensive producer, serious, doesn't really talk much, just wanted to get, whatever. Now all of a sudden we've got a kaleidoscope of services that we can do, and he's here early and he stays late. And I know it ain't for me. What is what have you noticed a change in John since you've been in here? Have
Yes,
you noticed,
he got a
Sebastian?
haircut. I noticed he got,
Got a haircut.
Finally
No,
got my
I'm telling you, he sits there with a perpetual smile. Even when we talk about, turbulent times, he talks about it with a smile now. Do you have any insight? Maybe you have a little psychological background. Is there any insight on why that is?
I have seen Ferris, Eddie, and Joe Padilla much more frequently also.
Sebastian said that. I think that's the reason why she comes unannounced now.
Not to draw a crowd.
She's like, Phil, don't tell me anybody I'm coming.
old single
So-
girl showing
What you
up
don't
with the
know
grill.
is, just like Phil's installed a light on the roof,
Phil,
the
just-
Krispy Kreme light. When it's red, they're hot.
Phil, just
one of those up there.
Phil, just tell the married guys I'm coming, please.
The old single girl hanging out at the grill with all the guys.
You're not the only one, though. You're not the only one.
Man cave, yeah.
Sherry, I miss you out there, kid. I can't wait till this is over so you get to come back and
Did she go to Texas or is she still in Mescalero?
I think she's back in New Mexico. We've had a couple, so you're in your own company. John, I've noticed you've been smiling a little bit better. Is Aiden's workouts getting a little bit better, and is he throwing the ball a little bit better?
We're working on
Is he working harder? What is it that's got you smiling a little bit more?
Oh, no. Great dialogue, kind of being able to express myself, meeting new friends. That's been a really good part of it.
You
Being
didn't
able to
smile with me and Sebastian.
Yeah.
Did he smile with you and I?
Most people don't.
And here's where I love it that Laura Lynn came and her presence is here now with him. Prior to her coming here, you had him feeling sorry for you when it came to me. He kind of felt like, Coach is a little hard on Sebastian, he should be nicer to Sebastian.
That's all those things are true.
And so
In general, Coach, you should be
now
nice.
he seems
Should
a
be
little
nicer to
distracted.
others.
He seems a little distracted. Where I noticed this was in last week's broadcast, because John would really, he's good at what he does. He gets better every day.
That's the key thing.
You know, he's getting better every day. But I started noticing he started looking out this window a little more.
That's what it is.
And I started noticing when someone walked in, he like the eyes would shoot and his fingers would get lost on the board. And so he would like, for example, we lost audio. Why did we lose audio? Because his fingers got lost on the board.
Oh, is that what it
because his eyes were up. And in football, we say eyes up. His eyes were up.
Well, you gotta field the ball before you can turn the double play.
And so he notices who walks in here. He didn't ever notice before. Like he didn't notice unless they came to the window and looked in the studio. Now it's, you know, almost like a
hear
little
those
kid.
heels.
Almost
You did
like,
come and greet me outside the door, yes.
I think that one of the things that it reminds me of is like when my wife would come home. You know,
No, she would lock the door. That's
no,
different.
no. I would be home. I would be home already, so she wouldn't lock herself out. But when she came home, and Orion would look to see if she brought a dozen donuts. You know, like that anticipation that Mama's bringing me donuts. You know, and that's how John looks now. That anticipation, going, am I going to get a sighting? Am I going to get a sighting? Is there going to be a sighting? You know, and so, you know, like. He was sitting on the edge of his seat. We were talking about issues, and then he saw Lorleanne, and all of a sudden it just went. He slid back. You know, what is that about, John?
No comment.
Wow. And even Sebastian, look at his smile.
John's
Look.
never been speechless about anything.
He's from ear to ear. His smile. Like, what is that about, bro?
We're about to end the broadcast.
Is that what it is?
That's what we're about
we
to
get
do.
to spend a little
I
time.
like when we were picking on Sebastian. Can we
Yeah,
go back to
now
doing
you know.
that?
Now you know how this always feels.
Chicken.
Exactly. Go ahead, Lorelei. Preach, girl. Preach. You know. Let's go. What's it all about? Is there a friendship there?
Oh, we
Because
definitely
that
started-
was a loud smack. I heard. Like I didn't know if you hit her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, or, you know, it was just two people really happy to see each
Yes,
other.
we embraced each other. Yes.
Okay.
So, we said hi to each other. Yes.
Okay. And so, you know, when you're in this world, brother, it's about the public forum. And, you know, people want to know.
It's about coach's amusement is what it's about.
Completely
know?
coaches and music. Now we need to focus. Okay, let's go. Laura. Yeah.
Hold on. You're the producer. You want to figure out, you take care of the cameras. I'll take care of the dialogue.
I know.
Lorleanne,
You've been told.
you know, was there did I misread? Or have, you know, seeds been planted? You know, has the
there's so
future
many-
rose bush
Yes,
been
sir.
planted? The future rose bush.
I didn't know you were a botanist.
Listen, right? I'm telling you, we're going to have a problem. The next time I see you when you're 20 pounds lighter, we're going to have a problem.
That just
Yeah.
means I'm working on them both.
You know, have you talked diet with Lorleanne at all?
No, but we do compare, like, because she's a running fanatic, and I'm not there yet, but I have been doing like almost 3 miles every day, walking in the morning.
Man, that's pretty awesome.
So yeah,
That's pretty awesome. Where do you walk?
Just in the neighborhood. I take my dog for a walk, and I set my alarm for 6. I try to get out of the door by 6:35. I have a nice path in my neighborhood.
Are you coaching this year?
I don't, because my son's a quarterback. I've always just, Coach Williams doesn't want that. I'm in the booth.
Pressure.
I'm in the booth. I'm at every practice. I film everything. I go over the playbook, and so I'm at an arm's distance. So I'm not officially a coach, but I throughout this whole
couldn't coach Orion. I couldn't coach him. I'd be way too hard on him. You know me.
Oh, no.
I'd be way too hard on him. But before every game, I said, please just let me be a parent.
I can't.
Please just let me be a parent.
can't.
Please just let me be a parent.
And then there's the first snap.
Oh, I know.
Exactly.
I told Coach Williams, I said, you have to put me in the booth because I cannot be on the stands with those dumb parents that Oh yeah.
Well, it's weird because Coach he stands on the sideline and he's always got his resume in his right hand. Like I don't know what that's all about. And he's always
what I
next
have to put up with?
And he's always next to the 18.
I introduced him to Laura Leanne, and he's now 50 pounds lighter. And
Not yet.
he shows
Yeah.
no appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Like none. No appreciation whatsoever.
Why do you bring your resume to those
what's
games?
wrong with walking around with your resume to show your credibility? Hey, you got to admit I got a pretty amazing
Oh, yeah.
resume.
Oh, yeah.
Like I got a pretty amazing resume, and so I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my resume. I'm proud of my references. My references, you know, when I got the job here, you know, the GM at the time said, "Man, I never had a resume with that, you know, with the names on your reference list." And I just went, "Well, you know, I've been blessed." You know, listen, there's no one that's taken more advantage of my resume than you. There's no
not true.
one. Before you started hanging out with me and becoming my shadow, you know, like you didn't have a resume.
That's not true.
It is true. You know, and now he's, you know, he hasn't been the same. You know, since he's got the #1 show on ProView, I can't focus.
Local
with Sebastian Noel.
Local focus.
So I did a YouTube search today because I went back like 3 years and I looked at Dream Style, like the Yaffle highlights, and I heard a bunch of your voice, Santa Maria.
Oh, yeah. See, that's when you know Aiden's good. If he got a Santa Maria.
I did. I heard it today. I'm like, that's Sebastian's voice. And then finally I heard the Santa Maria. I'm like, that is Sebastian.
What is the call about though? Santa Maria.
It's just when something magnificent happens.
Magnificent, yeah.
You know?
Is that what magnificence is?
No, it's
Wow.
Saint Mary.
I was going to say, I thought it's a saint.
It's just an exuberant.
Saint
Mary.
Mary.
It's an exuberant
Yeah.
call.
What a great play by Aiden Chavez, Saint Mary.
No, but
That doesn't make sense.
He goes cultural. He goes Santa Maria. I heard him today because I watched like about 8 clips because I've been trying to find some old clips from him.
Very busy. You got a very busy
I
day.
watch football all day long.
You know,
All day
very
long.
busy day.
I watch LSU film.
That he's listening for Sebastian Noel
Santa
calls
Maria.
I know.
during the Yaffle.
I had I watched from 3 years ago.
And that's where I broke Santa Maria out, was in Yaffle. I said, let's take
That was
this.
his test
let's
group.
take this.
Do you use that in the high school games?
Oh yeah. I said, let's
Oh,
take
really?
this.
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Let's take this out for a walk and see how this,
yeah, I
this
know.
plays.
So a white guy
The feedback is
that yells out his call, Santa Maria.
It's very rare. I probably used it during the high school season. Maybe
You are a white guy.
2 or 3. Yeah, I probably used it 2 or 3 times during the high school season. That's it.
I saw it during the Apple. So.
It's when you you know something just needs that
But
extra
I wanted
exuberance.
to let
But
you
see,
know.
everybody
And
has a
I just
call.
want to say I apologize for both of them. So I mean, they're exposing themselves a little bit. This mutual admiration society, you know.
Coach hates it when we're not admiring him.
Yeah.
You should know that.
Did you just go yeah? Did you just go yeah?
No, I said Laura Leanne fan club.
You know,
Dude, I need to be on that side. I must reconfigure get out of this swiping rage.
you know,
I'll come sit with you, Joe.
Yeah.
you know the what did she call me?
Dominic.
Dominic. Man,
Because what have I always called you? Dominic.
my mother never even called me Dominic.
We had that discussion.
She called me a few names, but never Dominic. And so, listen, I don't want you to don't fall into his fishnet.
Yeah, there's
You
other
understand?
nets.
There is other nets.
there
There
are.
are other nets. Exactly.
There are.
There are other nets. And let me tell you,
Other fish.
Coach can't hurt you. He can only help you.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? No names for fear of embarrassment. We'll just look and whistle. Okay? You know, and so know where your butter is bred. And so you're walking 3 miles a day, which is awesome. Have you done that before you met Laura Leanne, or is her influence kind of spurred you on a little bit?
No, I saw that. I saw her workout regime, and
Okay.
and she was like, I remember when we first kind of hung out the first time ever. She's like, I ran 13 miles that day, and I'm like, oh,
It's
God.
crazy.
13.3.
Yeah, I know. So, but no, but I also kept telling myself, okay, March, this is going to be a great month. I'm home because I'm like on the longest summer break ever because I'm a teacher.
All the students, too.
Oh yeah, no. So, but my son has taken advantage of it, and I've coached him through
Thanks
that.
for throwing it in my face. My son isn't.
No, your son is absolutely is too. You're coaching him up too. So, but I've been given this opportunity to do it, and my own personal is that I kept putting it off, and I said, okay, now April's here, here this one, and then I never do it, and then finally now in June I'm trying to hold myself a lot more accountable.
Yeah. And so that influence has gotten to you a little bit when you hear
absolutely.
conversations and stuff.
Oh,
What's next for him? Tell me, what do you have planned for him next? Meal portions?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to do, my birthday is the 26th of June. It's the next day I'm doing a half marathon, so he can go with me again.
Yeah.
Are you gonna cheer her
That's
on?
the 27th of June,
And so
7 a.m.
your birthday's June 26th.
Yeah.
So you're gonna turn 40. You're gonna finally hit the
You're
big
precious.
4-0. You're gonna hit the big 4-0.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
so
that's right. Something
wow.
like that.
Well, congratulations. You're gonna go support her in her.
No, he's going to run with me.
I'll get a golf cart.
Really? You're gonna run a half marathon?
No. Yeah, no.
Well, listen, it was Laura Leanne. I appreciate your friendship.
Thanks
and
for the comedy
influence
relief, yeah.
the influence that you have on my two friends here, and I'm so proud of Sebastian. I tell him all the time
Me too.
about. I've told you
Yep.
how proud I am of him, and that he keeps going with this, and now that you have influence over John, and I look forward to after the marathon. And so
Me too.
Wow, chicka wow.
if I don't see you, wow.
I don't know where that sound effect came from.
You know exactly where you got that sound
No,
from.
we upgraded the audio board.
And so obviously we understand that he has parental controls at home on the direct, obviously. And so, hey man, we had a short show. We had some fun. Thanks for bringing a little levity. We talked about some
Heavy-duty
serious stuff. And bro, next week, I don't know. I won't be here Thursday. I mean, we could still have it. If you want to bring me in from Oklahoma on Thursday, we can still talk, and go from there. But I'm going back to the motherland.
Actually, real quick, tomorrow I'll be here. I'm starting a new piece for Enchantment Sports about JP Royale and the Naka job.
Nice.
So I'll be talking to him tomorrow.
You meeting him here?
Yep.
Good.
So-
I just got a text from those guys.
So I'll be.
They want me to make a phone call for them. That's ridiculous what's going on.
I'll be working on that story.
Okay. All right, good, man. That's a good story. John, appreciate you.
Yeah. Don't forget to go to our Facebook group, the Champions Corner. The reason being you do that is if you join that group, you get notified every single time the show is on, versus the business page. The Facebook algorithm decide who gets notified. So we have a lot more control over our Facebook group. We're also on Periscope and YouTube. So make sure you join out there and then rewatch the show or share it with somebody that this show affects.
Wow. All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And then I think I'm going to close out the show with our
Little Chappelle?
No.
Oh, you can't show that.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
I can't believe Facebook flagged that.
Yeah.